Hey listeners, welcome to another episode of Brown Girls Read Podcast. This is your host Taman Tivana.
And this is Kathy Thakur. And both of us love reading books.
On this podcast, we bring our favorite books to you and discuss the parts that were most meaningful to us and how we found them interesting or relatable as brown girls. Today we are discussing Fair Play by Eve Rodsky, in which she offers a revolutionary real-world solution to the problem of unpaid, invisible work that women have shouldered for too long.
The problem that she has explained in the book is extremely prevalent in our society, and the solution that she has provided is eye-opening and super easy to implement. But before discussing it further, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor.
Fair Play touches on unequal division of unpaid labor and how it affects women disproportionately and especially mothers. Eve mentions how watching her mother struggle to bring up kids alone had a big impact on her wanting an equal partnership for herself. And that kind of reminded me of our Indian upbringing, where even though dads are present, their contribution is mainly monetary or maybe enforcing rules in the house. But when it comes to the grunt work, it's mostly on moms. Even when moms are working, it's on them to make sure that the lunches are packed, kids are being helped with the homework, they are managing the tuitions, and million other things.
Yeah, the thought of handling all of those things makes me so scared if I ever have kids. I feel like I'll be that lazy mom, not sending her kids to school, not making pies or cakes for them. I feel like my kids are going to have mommy issues.
Kathy, you should read this book called Laziness Does Not Exist, because when I hear you say this, I'm just hearing all the society's expectations that you feel.
Oh my God, yeah. I just fell right in the trap, right? Something that Eve has also mentioned that we shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And one more thing I have noticed is that our society has now actually started appreciating women for being highly active, even after having a baby and doing all the work. But I'm always thinking, that instead of putting women on the pedestal because she's doing all the work, we should probably teach our men to equally do the work. No one has really looked at the problem of why women have to do all this work. It's because men are not doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And in all fairness, I feel like when Eve says that sometimes men really want to help us, but even they don't know, how they can actually help us. Like it's easier to probably do it ourselves rather than teaching them.
To your point of putting women on pedestal for how much they do, that's how society has operated always. They have associated women's worth to how much they can produce, whether it's producing babies or household work or other things like that. I also read somewhere recently, I think, that when this whole feminist movement started, it kind of happened as a phenomenon that women were given permission to go out and work as long as their familial duties and their motherly duties were also being fulfilled. This gave birth to this term called soccer mom or a super mom who does anything and everything. It makes me wonder, where is the term super dads? Where is the term soccer dads? Do they not exist at all?
Yeah, that's such a good point, I think even our media, like shows and movies, are always showing women doing all the work. And then dads are basically just, showing up. And it reminds me of this episode of Modern Family that I was watching recently. In that episode, everyone in the family is asked this question: what does it mean to be a dad? And the episode ends with Jay saying, being a dad just means showing up. And I was like, no, that's such a wrong message that you're sending out to all the men out there. Showing up is probably the basic human part of being a dad,
I know, that's the first step. There are
Yeah.
things to do after that. Do you even know what to do after that?
Right.
And I think Jay definitely wasn't a great example of a good husband or a great dad. Like, he had his moments, but he wasn't really doing anything.
Yeah, you're right. And also, it's important to note that even women don't value their time equally to men. And I think that's a very important distinction that this book brought up. women do so many things related to housework, children, their homework, doctor visits, bank work, etc., etc. But somewhere even they don't believe that what they do is important as compared to what their husbands are doing in the day.
That is such a loaded point, I feel there's so much behind it. One of the things that I can think of is how culturally our society deems men's time more important, and also that whatever they do is more meaningful, while at the same time, women are doing equally important things at home to keep the household running, to keep the children alive and fed. But whatever they are doing is treated sort of worthless. But nobody
Yeah,
has stopped to question how many men would have been able to go out to make that quote unquote difference in the world if they also had to come home and take care of all the chores, buy groceries, clean the house, take care of kids, take them to school and doctors, and that endless list.
I know what you mean. I think men won't be able to do it.
See, you gave
Oh
men that
no!
card.
I keep falling into this trap.
And I also think another big player is money, of course, because money is such a power trip. Men do get paid more, even for the same level jobs. Not that every couple can afford to be at same level jobs, but even in those cases, men make more money. And that makes them believe that they themselves are more valuable because it somehow keeps translating into how worthy a person is. It's inevitable that if you're getting paid more, you start to feel like your time is more important and more valuable.
That's very true. And this also affects women because they feel that their time is less valuable and that they're less worthy. It's sort of like a vicious circle, I feel.
Yep, definitely. And in the book, Eve has written something about this time inequality that we women are making a strong point now how our time is not measured equally in the workplace. But we still are not talking about how our time isn't fairly measured at home. Until I read this, I didn't think about it in that way. Or maybe I did subconsciously, but never put the two things together the way Eve has done it. Now I'm like, yeah, why are we not prioritizing our time outside work?
Whenever I'm talking about this with my mom, she's always telling me to adjust and make food in the house or clean the house. And I'm like, I don't have time to do that. But I feel like this also is related to, how even other people don't value women's time in the house equally to men's.
Yeah, and I think in our culture, adjust is the motto when it comes to
Yeah.
women, right? For anything, not just time, for anything and everything. They're like, yeah, adjust. You're
Right.
you're born to adjust, basically.
Right.
But I also feel like it can become too much fighting at some point. If you're just one woman fighting at workplace, fighting at home, fighting your culture, fighting your mom, I guess you'll get tired.
At one point you're just like, I'll just shut up and do this work and not complain because it seems like I'm complaining a lot everywhere.
That's true. But I really like that this book shed light on unpaid labor, something that has always fallen on women disproportionately, not just in our culture. I think it's a global thing. It's also something that has been crucial in supporting the global economy, and yet it's never acknowledged. I forgot whose video it was. It was a woman official in New Zealand, I think. She did a TED talk on this topic and shared her research on how much contribution unpaid labor makes towards the GDP globally, and yet nobody seems to care.
Oh my God, the amount of work that women are doing that goes unpaid is insane. It's almost like women are single handedly raising the generation of tomorrow that will be responsible for the global GDP, but they themselves are not acknowledged for this humongous task. Even women don't realize it. There isn't enough awareness about this, which is so sad. And it also reminds me of all these sentences that I've heard from my dad growing up when he was talking to my mom. Sentences like, what do you do at home all day? Or you're always sitting at home doing nothing. And he never realized that the food that he's getting on time, or the fact that the house is clean all the time and children are well fed, well tutored, and happy, is because of mom. moms who are basically doing all the unpaid work thinking that it is their duty.
I know, it's such a thankless job. Kids are not in a state to recognize, they are too young, so they get a pass. But what about the men?
And especially if you yourself don't realize it and don't fight for it, it becomes even more pitiful, I guess.
Well, nobody will ever fight for you. And
That's true.
since we're talking about thankless men, I also feel like not all men are like that, but even the most well meaning men often say how they help their wives. And this
Yeah.
whole idea of men helping women and then applauding themselves for being better than other men, I find it just ridiculous. And there's a quote in this book which is such a great response to all men who say they help their wives. It says, helping means this is not my job. Helping means I'm doing you a favor. Helping means this is your responsibility. Helping implies that the helper is going above and beyond. A full partnership means turning away from the idea of help entirely and taking on responsibility in an even manner.
That's such a wholesome quote, I feel like everyone should read this.
Yeah, and maybe even print it up and put it around the house as a reminder to all the helpers.
Yeah.
Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast,
providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo.
I recently joined as a member and you can too.
Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience.
That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
Let's talk about another thing that the book brought up, which is multitasking. You know how all these videos say that women are better at multitasking than men? I was actually honestly so surprised when the book said that there is no real data supporting this claim. And I was like, what?
I can't believe you fell for it. I actually figured it out a while ago that we have all been fed this lie our entire lives that women are multitaskers. And by doing this, I think we have been set up to take on more and do menial tasks. Because men can easily be like, please don't disturb me. I'm focusing on my single most important task. I'm a man. I cannot multitask. And of course, they also believe this because their entire lives, they have heard this message that men can't multitask. It's a women thing.
Yeah, and you have no idea how many times I have taken tasks over from my husband, thinking that he can't multitask, so I'll do it and get it over with. My life has been such a lie. I feel so sad.
I don't believe in this whole idea of a gendered brain. I think it's such bullshit. Honestly, gender is a societal construct. Brains are just brains until society starts to shape them. The biggest example of this I see around myself is parents who buy their sons shitload of trucks and then they'll also show them cartoons of trucks. And all of this is happening with the projected excitement. And when the kid starts loving the trucks, then they'll go like, oh, we didn't do anything. It's just something biological that he loves trucks.
It's the same thing with makeup for little girls, right?
Yeah.
Like little girls love makeup. If you put makeup in front of them all the time, then that's what they're going to use and do, right?
Yeah, like there are kids who enjoy nail paint because it's just color, right? If they see their moms applying nail paint, they also want it. But if from a young age you start scolding them like, oh no, boys don't do this, then they're gonna internalize that message.
Right. Yeah. Now let's talk about the fair play system that addresses all of the issues that we have talked about, like multitasking, unpaid labor, gendered responsibilities, and unequal distribution of work. The system that Eve has created provides a chance to fairly divide all the tasks at home among partners. And when I read how the system works, I was like, of course, it is so obvious. It is so simple and easy. Of course, it should have been like this right from the beginning.
Yeah, you are so right. And at the core of it, the idea is that you own the task that you're doing, right? There's a quote in the book which says that the deepest resentment lies in the conception and planning because therein lies the bulk of the mental and emotional weight. When I read it, I kind of looked back at my interactions with my friends and I cannot count the number of times I've heard from them that if they are the ones who have to figure out the meals, they have to plan the entire thing, and then they have to instruct their husbands on what to do and how to do it, they feel like that they might as well do the entire task themselves.
Yeah.
And it's something that is said out loud, I believe, but maybe in passive aggressive way mostly. Even then, there is such a gap in understanding, even for women. What is it that bothers them so much? Is it the decision fatigue? Is it the guilt? Is it the disappointment? And I think this is where Eve did a great job of explaining this whole conception, planning, execution system, that these three components make up a task. Just by understanding the system, you get the vocabulary and the language to communicate it better.
And even at work, you are responsible for conception, planning, and execution of your work end to end. So why not do it at home?
Because you're not getting paid at home, Khyati.
That's true.
But then women are also not getting paid, right? Like,
yeah,
it's so
exactly.
unfair.
And I've also started talking to my friends about fair play, and also with my partner. I'm easing him into it right now. There are a lot of discussions going on.
I like that you're easing him into it. I actually thought of getting this book for my friends, but then immediately there was this another thought in my head, like, would they even want it? Or would they be offended? Am I telling my friends how to live their lives or something? I feel like a lot of times women, including our friends, choose the path of least resistance. Like, so what if they have to do a little more? So what if they have to put up with something? At least there's less bickering and fighting. I think it's such a slippery slope.
Yeah, I actually gifted this book to one of my friends and also the fair play cards, and she didn't appreciate it at all. She thought probably not a great gift.
Well, I honestly believe this is not an easy read. The reason being that it makes you look at your own biases and your own role in the situation as well. You can't just blame men. We are all creatures of our conditioning. We have all been brought up in this messed up, unfair system. So if we are trying to resolve it, we have to look at ourselves as well and take responsibility to create better systems for ourselves. And if you're a parent, then maybe also, a responsibility of raising a child with a better system in place.
That's very true. And I don't think there is enough awareness about this in our society. Women have themselves accepted that they will be doing all the work once the child is born. And they don't even want to consider that there is a possibility or there is a system like this that can be developed that could actually help them.
This makes me sad because they are missing out on the unicorn space.
Yeah, I love the concept of unicorn space so much because it gives you the time and the flexibility to grow and focus on yourself too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everyone deserves that, not just men, not just children. Every human being deserves that.
Right.
And now let's also talk about why this book gets brownie points from us.
I love this book, so I have a lot of brownie points to give. The first of which I'll give because I really like that she has actually explained her process of developing the system, her personal experiences of being a mom and that of her friends, and all the research she did is very informative to read.
Yeah, I loved how it started with that shit I do list. I think it's a great idea.
And it was so amazing to see like all the women coming up with these tasks that they do every day, smaller tasks that you don't even realize that you're doing.
Oh, this reminds me, I have done a version of it myself. I just remembered that. At one point, even I was bogged down by how much stupid work I have to do around the house, and I felt like I was doing a lot of it. So I started like jotting it down, also noting how much time each thing takes. I just didn't stick with it, but I did it, like some version of it.
Yeah, I realized that I have been taking out my cat litter every morning. So I actually timed it. It takes me 8 minutes to do that. And since I'm easing my husband into all this, I gave him this example that it takes me 8 minutes every day to do this.
Good progress, Khyati.
Yeah.
I also love that she has described the whole CPE system that she developed in such a simple step-by-step way. And maybe my favorite part is that she provides a lot of language and vocabulary to us so that we can have these conversations in a healthy way.
I think she also mentions that plans don't work, systems do, which is also something that we read in Atomic Habits, the book by James Clear. And this fair play system is something that definitely would work for every couple, I think.
Yeah, and I definitely want to give her brownie points for gamifying the system.
Yeah.
With her cards. And you don't even have to buy the cards. I think she has a printable on her website that you can download and make cards out of it. You can do it in such a fun way. She suggests that people should do weekly check-ins to monitor their progress. They can also do it on their date nights or do something fun with it. And all the anecdotes of people who shared how they are doing this on their weekly taco nights or over drinks or while they are walking. I just found all of it so sweet and endearing.
Yeah.
And now, before we end the episode, we also want to share some of our current reads with you. Kathy, you want to go first?
Yes. So again, I am reading a fiction book called Pure Land by Zarar Saeed. It is a book about a testimony from an assassin where he claims responsibility for the murder of a Nobel Prize winning physicist Salim Agha. This book is set up in Pakistan. Super interesting read, especially because the writing is so eloquent and enjoyable. I definitely recommend it.
You know, it's funny that this is the second time in a row you are recommending a fiction.
I know, yeah.
What happened to you?
I don't know.
Well, funnily, I also have a non-fiction recommendation again.
Oh my god.
We have switched places, I think.
Yeah.
I'm actually listening to Barack Obama's A Promised Land, and I'm actually really enjoying it. Like, there's something about listening to him tell his own story.
And with his voice.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
Every day I go for a walk and I'm listening to him for like 1 hour.
That's amazing.
Like such a good experience.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm also going to buy an Audible for that. That makes so much sense because I love his voice. I could probably sleep by listening to him, you know.
But then you'll miss on the book.
That's true.
I also have another recommendation. A coworker of mine, she gave me this book recently. It's called War Heroines Speak. It's by Dr. Nusrat Rabi. And it's stories of 7 women survivors who were subjected to rape and torture by Pakistani army during 1971 Bangladesh War. It's a heavy read, of course, but I think it's also a really important book because it tells people like how people are affected behind the scenes of war, and most of them are women.
Oh, wow. I love the premise of the book. Yeah. I think I'll find it interesting.
So that's all for today. For our next episode, we are bringing Eve Rodsky herself to tell you more about the fair play system. Until then, keep listening.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Brown Girls Read podcast. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star rating and a comment. You can support us at anchor.fm/browngirlsread/support. Your support will allow us to continue this podcast and bring more episodes to you. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram, Brown Girls Read Pod, and Brown Girls Read 1 on Twitter. If you have book recommendations for us, you can leave us a comment or message on our social media, and you can also subscribe to us on YouTube for more content.